After 70 winters, Ellen Mathers had seen enough of life to know that peace didn't come from what you owned or controlled. It came from what you released. It was a lesson not easily learned in her youth, and even harder to hold on to as the years stacked higher than the books in her living room. But the day after her 71st birthday, something changed. She stood barefoot in her garden, feeling the coolness of the morning dew, and realized her soul was asking for something simpler, a surrender. That year, she let go of 5 things and found a peace more profound than anything she'd chased before. The first thing she let go of was the need to be right. For most of her life, Ellen had been sharp, opinionated, and fierce in debate. Her children often joked that she could out-argue a judge, and she'd worn that as a badge of honor. But the more time she spent with her grandchildren, the more she saw that insisting on being right robbed her of warmth. Conversations became contests. Disagreements ended in distance. One morning, her granddaughter corrected her on something trivial, a TV show plot perhaps, and Ellen started to argue, then paused. "You're probably right," she said instead. The girl smiled, and they moved on. That smile was worth more than being right. Ellen realized she could choose connection over correctness. Next, she released regret. The older she got, the more vivid her memories became. Some were sweet, the taste of peaches on a hot August afternoon, her husband's laugh echoing across the lake. Others were barbed with regret, the time she missed her daughter's recital to attend a board meeting, the angry words she never took back. For years, she'd carried those moments like stones in her pockets, heavy and unrelenting. But as she sat on her porch one evening, watching the sun melt into the horizon, she whispered to herself, "I forgive you." She said it again and again until the weight loosened. Regret is only useful if it teaches. Beyond that, it's just clutter. She began to travel lighter. She also let go of comparison. In her 60s, Facebook had become a daily ritual, watching friends post about cruises, grandchildren's graduations, lavish garden parties. At first it was amusing, then it was addictive, then it was poisonous. She began to measure her worth against curated images. Why hadn't she done more? Why wasn't her life more dazzling? Then one day she saw a friend post about a hospital stay, unfiltered and raw. Ellen realized we all hide parts of our lives. She closed her laptop and started writing letters again. Real ones, paper and pen. Her world felt slower but fuller. The only life she had to live was her own. The 4th release came quietly, grudges. There were names she hadn't said in decades, stories she hadn't told, wounds that hadn't healed. Her sister, for one. They hadn't spoken in 10 years over a misunderstanding about their parents' estate. Ellen had replayed that conversation 1,000 times, waiting for an apology that never came. But holding the grudge had done nothing but isolate her. She picked up the phone and called. Her sister answered. They cried more than they spoke. Not every scar disappeared that night, but the ice between them cracked. Some bridges are worth rebuilding, even if they'll never be what they once were. Finally, she let go of the fear of death. For most of her life, it lurked at the edges of her consciousness, sometimes loud, sometimes silent, but always there. What if it hurt? What if it was lonely? What if there was nothing beyond? But with age, the fear softened. She began to see death not as an enemy, but as a chapter. She found herself talking more openly about it with friends, even laughing about funeral songs and tombstone quotes. She wrote her will. She recorded voice messages for her family. She planned a simple ceremony. The act of preparation freed her. When the unknown is acknowledged, it becomes less terrifying. By the time she turned 72, Ellen felt lighter than she had in decades. She wasn't chasing time or accolades anymore. Her days were filled with books, tea, calls with friends, slow walks, and the rustle of the wind through the trees. There was no urgency, only presence. No pretending, only truth. Letting go wasn't about giving up. It was about creating space for laughter, for quiet joy, for love without conditions. It was about living not in the shadow of the past or the illusion of control, but in the moment, fully. And that was enough. That was peace.